Wake that ass up. Black people, we in trouble. We in trouble. Black man, black woman, black child, we in trouble. We were colonized and converted into Christians. And Christianity single-handedly has taken over the world and transformed people into these zombies who believe in a supernatural being that controls the world. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? Christians believe in a supernatural being. Y'all believe that there's a man in the sky and that he controls everything. So down to a child being molested, down to a person being slaughtered, somebody killing their grandparents, certain things that people go through that's sinister and evil. If you're a Christian, you believe that God ordained these things. I ask a lot of Christians about, certain sinister things like, rape. Like, do you think God is sitting back watching a young child be molested or somebody be molested and God just allowed that? Christianity has taken your willpower to do anything about the world that you live in. You are just sitting back waiting on the afterlife because you've been lied to and told that you're going to get a mansion when you die. So this world out here, the earthly things are for the devil, Contradiction of the Christian God. Telling y'all, the Christian God does not exist, okay? Nobody's coming back to save you. God lives in you. Now, this is another key point of the Christian God and why I say the Christian God does not exist and nobody's coming back to save you. You have to look at this stuff. If you are a grown man or a grown woman and you still believe in Noah's Ark, you need to question yourself. You really need to take a long look into the mirror and ask yourself, do you really believe that Noah's Ark was full of every single animal on planet Earth? Two of every kind, a male and female, with Noah, his 3 sons, and their wives. So when they got off the boat, Noah and his 3 sons and their wives repopulated the whole entire earth. If you're a grown person and you believe that, you got to question your belief, man. And I'm finna get in this Noah. I'm finna get on Noah's Ark, okay? Contradictions of the Christian God, okay? Noah's Ark, the Great Flood, is documented or whatever you want to call it when you're trying to date something. It's documented to be or to have happened in 2000 BC or around 2348 BC. Okay, now they got the world being created at 4004 BC. Okay, that's when God created the world, so to speak. That's what man is trying to say. They trying to cover their tracks with this man-made Bible, this man-made religion. And they're saying Noah's great flood was in 2348 BC. Now, if you know anything about history, that's where they fucking up right there. They messing up with the dates. Because as soon as you hear the great flood happen in 2348, you know good and hell well that God didn't wipe out the earth. And then they came right back building pyramids and building civilizations and all that. Okay? This is some BS, okay? But anyway, the Great Flood is at 2348 BC. Now keep that in mind. This is Noah's Ark. Now Noah's Ark supposedly was built by Noah, who was 600 and some years old, with his sons. And if they his sons, they had to be at least, 300, 200, So one man and his 3 sons and their wives built a big ass ark that was big enough to hold every living animal on planet Earth. Do y'all hear how ridiculous that sounds? First, you got to ask yourself, how did the kangaroo get to the ark? How did the animals in Madagascar, or the penguin, the polar bear, how did all these animals? Oh, no, never mind. I forgot. God is amazing. God brought all those animals to the. Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, God brought them over there. Now, what y'all need to understand about the Bible is that the Bible was constructed by people who were going through what we call the Dark Ages. Okay, this is a time where they didn't have much literature. They didn't have a lot of books. So whatever they had, they were trying to scrap it together and come up with a religion, find them a God, find them a way of life. And this is the type of buffoonery they put together. At that time, they thought it was genius probably. But nowadays, a lot of stuff has uncovered, and we're starting to see the contradictions in this religion, y'all. And y'all have to pay attention to these facts, because what I'm going to explain to y'all is fact. Shout out to the general, Sarah Sudin Seti. He the one put this knowledge on the table right here. That's why I'm exposing it now. He starts saying it, and I start looking it up, and I start saying, God damn, that shit true to the mud. This for real. We're going to talk about the Egyptian kings list, okay? Now y'all keep in mind, remember now, the Great Flood, Noah's Ark, was in 2348 BC, okay? The Egyptian kings list, the Great Egyptian kings list, these black kings, starts with King Narmer in the first dynasty in 3100 BC. And for all my people out there who don't understand how calendars work, when you go into BC days, your time is going backwards, going up, if you know what I mean, okay? Let me explain. If you want to say the year 5 BC, if you go back, if you go back 5 years, you're going to get to the year 10 BC. If you go back 20 years, you're going to get the year 20 BC, okay? It's going up, but it's going back. Okay, the current era is going back, but up. You know, it's going up. It's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, it's going up in the right way. BC, you are going backwards. Okay, but you're still going up. So when I say the great dynasty of Egypt began, the first dynasty of Egypt began in 3100 BC. This is approximately 800 years before the Great Flood, okay? The Great Flood is in 2348 BC. The Great Egyptian Nation started, the first dynasty was in 3100 BC, okay? This is the first dynasty. Now, this is when the king, the third dynasty is when the King Dozier was in power, and Imhotep, this is when he was alive. This is when the first step pyramid was built. The third dynasty. This is when the first stone up on the ground structure was built, okay, by Imhotep. He was the architect of this. This was around approximately 2800 BC. No, about 2600 BC. I'm sorry. About 2600 BC. This is about 200 years before the flood, okay? Then you go on to the fourth dynasty, and you get the pyramids of Giza. And then you get the fifth dynasty where you get Seti and all these pharaohs start to come. This is around 2600 BC all the way to 2300 BC. There is no break in the kingship. Okay? Now listen. The Great Flood was supposedly 2348 BC. The fourth and fifth dynasty of Egypt was going on 2600 BC all the way to 2300 BC. Okay? There was no break in the kingship, in the king's list. It goes all the way to 300 BC. All the way up until 300 years before this current era. It has all the list of the pharaohs all the way down to the Greek pharaohs in the late era of Egypt. That's when the Greeks and Romans came in at the end of Egypt. This was in 300 BC. That's why Egypt fell. Okay? But this great flood is supposedly a time when God wiped out all living beings. So if God wiped out all living beings in 2348 BC, how long do y'all think it would take for Noah and his 3 sons to repopulate the earth, where a couple hundred years or at that same time, there are African dynasties living. There are African kings, African countries, nations living and thriving. Native American and Mayan countries over here living. The Olmecs show up around 2000 BC. Do y'all hear me? So if the flood, so you got 300 years after the Great Flood, you got people building boats and selling the seas. Come on, y'all. Y'all got to, that Bible is one big contradiction to make you believe in that big false God in the sky. So people down here that are in control, they can keep control. Because you will never blame or point the finger at them. You're always going to blame and point the finger at God. And anything bad happen, or anything that do happen, you're going to think God ordained it. So it's just the way life's supposed to be. But in reality, they have lied to you. Okay? We are great people. Wake the fuck up. You are not supposed to be asleep on planet Earth. If you die asleep, you're just a waste of life. You're a waste of energy. So transfer your energy into righteousness and waking up and understanding the world you live in. Because this world is not pretty. It's an ugly world. And they have lied to you. Noah's Ark did not happen. Period. No way, no how. There's no archaeological, historical data or facts that prove Noah and his ark. And there's no way that Noah and his sons repopulated the earth and made me and you. No. Noah is not my great-granddaddy. I'm sorry. I don't claim that man. Ham is not my great-granddaddy. All you Hebrew, all you people, y'all have been fooled. Like I say, what slave master is going to give his slave a book to free him? Think. Never forget, you living in history, man.